Most people think inspiration is the starting point of creation, but in reality, inspiration is a side effect of action. If you don't start, it won't appear. When you really want to start something, the hardest step is always the beginning. Don't accept arguments. No good ideas, no inspiration. Just when you're about to start, it's like the brakes are suddenly applied. Sometimes inspiration really doesn't fall from the sky, and then you want to do this thing again, but you don't have any inspiration. I see most creators encounter this situation. What should you do in this situation? Don't worry, let me share my very practical method. Let's restart. It's about mixing and matching existing ideas. For example, if you see idea A and think it's good, and then you see idea B and think it's also good, then you can combine A and B and wait for your new idea. Some of you may have already used this method, but it's useless. That's because you simply piece things together. The result can easily become a zombie, a soulless patchwork. The real key isn't simply mixing and imitating forms, but adding soul. This means understanding and internalizing the thinking behind others' work. When I was designing a coffee poster, I stumbled upon a car poster. Its price design was excellent. My first thought was to understand why it was so good. I noticed the use of a slight texture, which gave the numbers a stronger presence. This texture also echoed with the other elements in the image, creating a harmonious visual effect. After understanding this, I returned to my own coffee poster and began to add some texture to the price. However, this texture had to complement the tonality of the coffee image to maintain visual harmony. This is how I absorb others' ideas and express them in my own way. I turn others' strengths into my own unique expression, and I can reuse these ideas in different projects, right? We develop our inspiration and internalize others' ideas. This is how our work grows, bit by bit. So at the beginning, we really don't need to be perfect. The most important thing is to get moving, learn as you go, and do as you learn. The essence of this statement is very simple. Perfection is gradually honed along the way. More often than not, inspiration and ideas arise during the execution process. In fact, I often use this approach to work. For example, when I'm designing a logo, I often start with a rough draft, regardless of whether it looks good or not. I simply want to record my initial thoughts, then expand my thinking and experiment. However, sometimes, after trying every possible idea in my mind, I don't find a result I'm satisfied with. That's when it's time to look at other people's designs. I'll see if there are any unique ideas I can incorporate into my own design, which is the method I mentioned earlier. Then I'll continue to execute the design, because from execution to problem solving, then to execution, it's a very positive cycle. I usually start with addition, then subtraction. What does that mean? For example, if your initial project is 1, you need to create a logo for a milk tea shop. Then the first step is addition. First, we collect information. During this process, we collect a lot of materials. Then we start to filter them. This is the subtraction process. That is, when none of the above methods work, you can procrastinate a bit. Because you're stuck on a project, sometimes it's not really your fault. You need time. And in the meantime, you can do things you enjoy. Things you enjoy bring you joy. You don't demand a perfect result. Doing something you enjoy inherently brings joy. This is about giving, not demanding. This can alleviate the anxiety caused by being stuck. Speaking of procrastination, another thing I can't help but mention is boredom. Appropriate boredom not only relaxes your mind and allows you to take a break, but it also provides you with more energy to keep moving forward. Sometimes I get stuck on a project. After a brief period of boredom, I return to the project and find that the stuck area has surprisingly cleared up. But sometimes I also stumble. Taking too long to rest makes me want to just lie down, making it difficult to start again. This is a process of adjustment. That's all for today's sharing.